best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above par. Never lasting, motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you're asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself, your health is here, we got it. Reaching 350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like-minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network, start the show.
Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, the host of the Tina Ramsey Show and Podcast, and I want to personally invite you to be a featured guest on our show. Our show is all about motivating you, sharing knowledge, having upbuilding conversations centered around business, wellness, education, and life. We introduce you to some of the most amazing standout entrepreneurs and influencers that are truly making a positive impact in the world. It is your time to shine.
Well, hello, and happy Wednesday to everyone. Thank you for joining us for Behind the Scenes Black Women in Podcasting. So yes, Black women behind the scenes in podcasting does exist, and we have several panelists who will talk to you and share what they're doing behind the scenes. We have Twila Dang, who is the founder of Matriarch Digital Media. Twila, tell us a little bit more about you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Pardon the echo. I'm in a very large, cavernous room right now. I'm Twila Dang. I am the founder and CEO of Matriarch Digital Media. We're a women-focused media company here in Minneapolis. I'm also a producer for Minnesota Public Radio. I make podcasts for them. And as of 2 days ago, I am now a newly minted member of the PRX Central Accelerator for Journalism. And I will be involved with the accelerator for the next 12 weeks. So it's nice to see everybody.
Woohoo! I love it. Krystal Hill is the producer of the Black Love Inc. podcast network. Krystal, tell us a bit more.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Krystal Hill. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the director of podcasts for Black Love Inc. A little about me. I don't know. I'm a Pisces sun with a Pisces moon and a Gemini rising. But the fun stuff, yeah, we have like 7.5 podcasts here on the Black Love Podcast Network. I started in radio and sports radio, moved from sports radio, worked on the Steve Harvey Morning Show, worked on the Daily Popcast with Lance Bass, and I'm just here for a good time.
I love that. So look, I have to tell you, I'm a Gemini, and I seem to attract Pisces. So my very first boyfriend, my son's father, I don't know what it is about me and Pisces. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that a little bit later. DJ Tracy Treese, producer and media consultant of Trendy Media Group.
Yes. Hello. My name is DJ Tracy Treese. I'm a 10-year veteran DJ who is now in podcasting. So I'm a full-time producer here in LA. Freelance, but I also work behind the scenes as senior ad ops for Studio 71. So I work on the campaign tracking and a lot of the advertising campaigns on some of the largest favorite podcasts that you have out there. I did have a little bit of radio. I work for Urban One as well. So I had a little bit of time in Indianapolis there. But I'm here for all of the nasty guts of the back end of how we make things happen and get stuff done. That's my role in the podcasting space. Happy to be here.
All right. Do you prefer vinyl or digital?
Oh, always vinyl, but of course for portability, digital. If I was DJing a gig, digital, but if I was at my house, vinyl.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if it was me or not, but I didn't even hear you. Portability, digital, and then if you're DJing, that's where I lost you.
Okay,
Or-
yeah. If I'm DJing, definitely digital. But if I'm at home, analog, vinyl for sure. Sounds
Love it.
better.
Love it. And you know, they're bringing back the record player. So
Yeah. Oh, it never left for me.
So I mean, dang, you know, and I had lots of albums that kind of got messed up in you know how things, the flooding and all that kind of stuff, water damage. So I'm sad about that. But Dr. Tina Ramsey is the CEO of CTRMediaNetwork.com. Dr. Tina.
All righty. Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, CEO of CTR Media Network, which is a new standard of podcasting. We live stream, we use podcasting, we also do streaming television, and we utilize it in a different, innovative way in order to get your message out. We specialize in helping entrepreneurs and podcasters maximize their visibility online. And I have experience working behind the scenes. I am also the executive producer of my own show called The Tina Ramsey Show, which is in this 8th season. And I work and help other podcasters just maximize their visibility and just share their authentic self online. So you'll see me a little bit in front, a little bit behind. I'm a little bit of everywhere. That's just where I like to be. But my home, what I love to do mostly than be in front of the camera, I love to be behind the camera. But people seem to always want to pull me in front. But I love the behind the camera stuff.
Well, that's what we're talking about today, behind the scenes. So you'll be able to, you know, tell us a little bit more about that. And just to share that, so Dr. Tina and I, we met. She actually interviewed me on her podcast a few weeks ago, and it was a really good time. So that'll come out at some point. So make sure you're following us to be notified. So before I jump into our Q&A so that you can learn more about these wonderful women and the things that they are doing behind the scenes, things that people don't expect Black folks to do, and definitely don't expect Black women to do. So we're going to talk more about that. But I definitely want to shout out Corey Gums. Thank you so much, Corey, for this collaboration, for wanting to amplify the voices of Black women behind the scenes in podcasting. And we thought that Women's History Month was a perfect time to do this. So definitely want to shout out Corey before we get into it. So thank you, Corey. All right, so I want to read some stats. There are over 2 million podcasts. There are more than 420 million podcast listeners. 62% of US consumers listen to podcasts. 68% listen to the whole episode. 8 podcasts are listened to per week on average. Mobile phones are the preferred device. Podcast ad revenues expected to exceed $2 billion this year. By 2024, the industry will be worth $4 billion. And the demographics of podcast listeners are diversifying. So in 2022, podcast listeners were still American listeners during recent years. Clearly, podcasting is big business. Influence your work. So I'm going to ask this question to Tracy and Krystal and if anyone else has anything to add, feel free to jump in after they answer. But which of the stats mentioned have the biggest impact on what you do, in what way, and how or why?
Big question, but I'll jump in because I know a lot of those stats. I fast fact a lot of those because I work in ad ops. So it's important for me to like really know the statistics behind it. I think for me specifically, and what I do, it's the average time that people listen to podcasts, right? We really want people to make it through the whole episode, which right now as the industry average is about an hour. So what I think makes podcasting stand out other than any other media avenue, honestly, is that we have engaged people longer. When people are doing nothing, they'll still listen to a podcast for an hour straight, right? And we also have about 7 to 10 minutes per episode, that's ad space inside of the podcast. If you watch an hour of TV, half of that is going to be advertising, right? If you're watching YouTube, it's constantly going to stop you with the ads. So podcast listeners are listening for longer. They are more engaged. And also another little statistic I'm going to add on there is most people are listening to podcasts to learn new things. So also you have this really rich ground of people who are wanting to better themselves, wanting to invest in themselves, and coming back to revisit and continue with theories that the podcast host is bringing there. So to answer your question in the long and short, the length of time that people are staying engaged on podcasts is probably the most impactful statistic on my end of what I do.
Okay, and before we hear from Krystal, I just wanted to say, so the part about learning new things, so that's definitely resonating for me. I am in front of the scene as a podcast creator and host, and I'm just now learning about SEO. So I know that stuff that y'all know all about inside and out, and if you don't know, somebody on your team does. But I'm just learning about it, right? And I know that when I'm looking at keywords, what's important, is, or what I've been told as I'm learning, is to answer a question, right? To be able to answer what people are looking for. How did this and why that, and the 5 ways this, that, and the other. So that to learn new things definitely resonated with me. Krystal, what did you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, stats are, you know how people say stats are just kind of made up to make you feel good about what you kind of want, and you can kind of cherry pick like what you want to make it
Right.
to do what you want to do. So I'm always like resistant to be like, what's impacting me, because we're gonna move the way we move and create the content we want to create for the people that we want to create it for. Now, what is always on my mind about things is obviously podcast listeners are diversifying because we make Black content at Black Love. So understanding how our listeners are changing and how our listeners are reacting to our content and where they are entering the market is most important for us. So understanding like how, we make content mostly for Black women. It's not a surprise if I'm saying this and someone's shocked, like, Black Love be making content for Black women? What? Sorry, I spilled the secret. Like understanding where Black women are entering into the podcast space, understanding what they are listening to, what they're not listening to, what they want more of. Those types of just like statistics and entry points are what I'm looking for. Most of this other stuff, like the industry will be worth 4 billion, like to who? Like, is that like 4 billion to Odyssey and 4 billion to iHeart and 4 billion to Wondery? Like it's very trickle down economics to me. So, it's a pick and play for me, because some of it's like 4 billion, great. It's not really gonna really hit the people that it's supposed to hit, but and that's why I see Twila looking at me like, she knows. Twila like, I know Krystal be saying everything, so I'm just gonna let you. So it's just like, it's 2 billion, but like they say it's worth 2 billion now, but like 2 billion too. It's
right. And you know what? It's a big number. It's an exciting number. And I think that that's probably why they throw those numbers out, for people to get excited and maybe even get more people into it. But yeah, you make a great point. Who gets that, right? That if 2 billion for who, to whom, type of thing. So yes. So before we go to the next one, Twila or Dr. Tina, did you want to jump in on this one?
Well, for me, I personally feel now, Krystal and maybe DJ Trisha, that number intrigues me in a way, because I don't think about the big number. I think about just 1% of the pie. So how can I help the people that follow me, especially being that I focus mainly on podcasters, helping them elevate and position and leverage what they do in the marketplace by strategically placing podcast marketing and utilizing that. And so I'm thinking about that. I'm a little bit into the numbers. I'm a little bit into the analytics. I look at it a different type of way. And so I know I'm trying to gravitate towards that 1%, and also how I can leverage everyday people, which is entrepreneurs doing extraordinary things. How can I make us fit in that scenario where we can get a piece of the pie to just have to sustain our own, we always say the word legacy, quote unquote. So how can we use this opportunity in a way to leverage ourselves inside the marketplace, but also providing opportunities within our community and making that money circulate more than one time inside of our communities. Okay, we make, on an average, our community put at least about 1 trillion, at least 1 trillion a year into the economy. So how can we promote Krystal, Twila, DJ, like how can we get this out into the narrative along with making it entertaining, educating, and holding the audience and making sure that they engage. And so that is what I do. And I'm pulling and gleaming and learning from all of you. And I'm like, wow, this is just an honor to be on the panel with all of you. So I'm listening, learning, but that is my little spin on the narrative. But everything plays a part in the overall expansion of podcasting. And as Black women, you know, this is a male-dominated industry, and then we put the melanin on our skin. That's another barrier. But to see us making all these moves, it makes us powerful to work together and leverage our knowledge and expand it in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the way I'm looking at it too, you know, based on your answer, based on Krystal's answer, especially and in particular, is that how you're using it, right? Or, you know, like you, for the reasons that you all are in this, right? It makes a difference. Like the data resonates to you, or that piece of the data definitely because of what you're doing and so on and so forth. Twila, before we go to the next one, did you want to chime in?
I feel really strongly that while we know a lot of those numbers are just floating numbers, what I will tell you, especially having sat in this space for a day or so with people who have real impact on what our industry does, they have a very specific way that they look at what the industry does, but it's from a very egalitarian vantage point. They're up here, it's monopoly money to us, it's money to them because they get access to it.
Right.
And what we have to remember as we're looking at those stats, as we're looking at those numbers, as we're putting together the story on paper and numbers, is that we have a lot of influence with the numbers we use and in the sequence and duration in which we use them. So 2 billion doesn't mean anything to us, but what Dr. Tina is saying about $1 trillion in buying power does mean something. And if you do a little research digging and find out how much of that money is spent by Black women, by Gen X Black women, by, you know, head of household, now all of a sudden we're cooking with gas. We're not just pretending, right? And those are the numbers that we're going to wind up using to be of more influence. Those are the numbers we're going to combine with our download numbers or reach numbers across our social platforms or engagement numbers and length of episode listened to. That is how you go from that big 2 billion number to how do the people that we help every day, you know, and that we try to bring into the industry every day, make money, make a living, make a career, make a path in podcasting.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? And so another thing we're talking about, you know, Black women in podcasting behind the scenes, we're also talking about being at the table. And Twila, that's what you're talking about. You're at those tables and you're able to share with us. And that's the whole point of community, sisterhood, being in those rooms, at those tables, et cetera, and then sharing that knowledge with us so that we all can get a piece of it. So, you know, Dr. Tina and Krystal, you kind of already answered this. So I'll kind of throw this toward Twila and Tracy. Which informs how you will operate going forward, in what way and why? So again, we're talking about those stats.
I'm going to jump in here because I work in a traditionally, I don't work in a space of color for my full-time position. You know, I do work at one of those big top 20 companies, you know, networks that people are talking about. And it is a very different experience, right? And it's the reason why I have Trendy Media Group on here, which is my personal business, because I do freelance fairly frequently. You know, they are two different worlds. And I can't express that in any other way because, you know, like I always try to tell people, like I was a DJ, I was on the road for 10 years. I know what it's like to create my own monetization streams and help people inside of my community and drum up sales and use that buying power and get with other small business people. But when you're working at that huge granular level from those statistics that we got, which are most likely Nielsen and Edison and all those kinds of things, they don't even take into account our experience because they don't even know that it exists. You tell them it's happening and they're like, what? People are doing, Black people are doing podcasts. They are really very shocked. So my job and really where I do, this is my form of activism because I produce all day, every day. Like this is my life force here, is really I exist in those spaces at those tables, and I recommend and work with creators and see how I can bring us in. But I also learn these concepts and then regurgitate them to my people in a way that's most applicable for us. Right? Some of these monetization strategies are just like, you know, you got a popular YouTube channel, you can get some programmatic dollars. Most people ain't there. They not there. Most people aren't at a 20,000 download per episode place where you can get some programmatic dollars. So what I do specifically is teach a little bit of that DJ, a little bit of that selling CDs on the train that I had from a kid, because when I was a kid, because you got to go out and create some of your own luck in these places and or create the communities that we envision. So that's why I like the Black Podcasters Association for putting things like this together, and even like different conferences that we've all been to, the Afros and Audios of the worlds and things like that, because really we have to create it custom fit, because the structure that's in place is not applicable to us. There's no way that our people are going to fit it. They don't like the custom fit of it all. You know, we are a special group of people. So the things that make us different make us special. And moving forward, I'm taking that information and figuring out how I can connect it to my community, because we are the tastemakers. Let's just clear that up. We were talking about it a little before this started, but Nielsen has proven through the feedback loop that the Black community is the tastemakers. You know, hip hop culture is pop culture. A lot of the things that are trickling down from our communities are then becoming popularized, and money is being flowed into it, and we're not even being a part of it. So independent media, teaching people how to make money for themselves, video on demand, OTT, talking about all these things and getting rich and deep inside of it, so that we have these structures built out and we can educate our people on this so they're not late to the party. Yeah, that's usually what happens, is we late and the money is gone and now it's dried up and everybody's waiting for a Spotify deal and it's not happening.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, for me, where I definitely feel the differences is at the conferences, right?
You're sitting at the back. They got you at the back table.
Yeah,
back
they
left.
got at the back. They have us all at the same time. They give you just a few minutes. Those are the times you definitely feel it. And so the thing about it is they can still say, well, we gave you space. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wanted a seat, we gave you a seat. Yeah, you gave me the seat, but you forgot to give me a placemat. You forgot the
I don't have no utensils.
You know, right? All of that. All right. So Twila, what are your how are you informing? How is this informing for you?
So I work in the same way. I have this corporate life over here, and I have my own network over here, and I build out similar things. I have to have similar sensibilities, but I have to know that over here there's budgets, and over here there's no budgets. There's just you know, I'm usually like robbing Peter, you know, to pay Paul, and I'm hoping Mary shows up with a check. Eventually there'll be some money. I think one of the things we have to remember when we're operating at that level, half of my job in corporate land is to become as knowledgeable as possible. It's not just to get a check. It's not just to get, you know, like it's not just to try to help platform and bring in people who look like me, who have my life experience, my shared experience, so they get these opportunities too. That's an important part of it. The other part is the knowledge base, because now I'm a walking conduit to get other people connected to information, opportunity, resources. And that means if I know something, now you know something, right? Like we should all know, we should all be learning something. The thing that we take for granted is, because the folks in corporate, i.e. a lot of white people in corporate, are in such close proximity, close, comfortable working relationships, such close, comfortable personal relationships, a lot of this knowledge transfer is not happening in a conference room. This knowledge transfer is happening on the golf course, at the bar, at happy hour, at a barbecue, on vacation. It's happening off hours. We have to start utilizing those same things. We have to remember that when we're in community and seek out and generate community with each other, it isn't just a kickback. It isn't just, hey, how you doing? It don't have to be super formal, but when when we're together, we should be sharing information. We should be sharing knowledge. We should be making sure people get what they need. The other piece of that is very, very specifically, we need to stop waiting for white folks to show up to help us. We need to stop waiting.
Yes, that's it. I'm sorry.
Because in our industry, we think if we work hard enough, we do well enough, if we are good enough, we'll be chosen. We'll be somebody will invest, somebody will take up our show, somebody will put us on a network. We need to stop waiting for that. It ain't coming. It gives them too much power, and it takes away our agency. We don't need to do that. So if that means you build the best small thing you can build for a very specific audience, and you might not be a millionaire, but you can actually make like one of your house payments per year. If you can actually, make a good enough living that you might need a part-time job, but you can do this. Or you can make a good enough living that all of a sudden you got options because you figured out how to, leverage multiple revenue streams. We know it's always been for us by us, and we've always been all we've got.
Yeah.
So we just need to stop waiting for these other folks to show up for us in the gap. We show up for each other. We need to partner. We need to collaborate. I'm even at this point saying we need to stop going to these major conferences that I will not name that do not respect us, because our dollars matter. And if enough of us stop going, what happens is it might not make a dent right away, but all of a sudden the optics look bad. Why aren't we there? Why can't they get us to come? Why can't they incentivize us to come to the table? And then they actually have to start paying attention. And in the meantime, we can put our dollars. Think about all of the people of color you might have seen at one of the large conferences. Think about what those dollars would have looked like going into Black Podcast Festival or Afros and Audios. We have to start supporting our things, and we have to start making sure that we prioritize our things, because they're always going to prioritize themselves. We saw that mess this summer. We saw this mess last summer when they let a very hateful public figure show up on the floor of a very large convention. And their entire dialogue was, well, everybody has a right to their opinion. And since when do we platform hateful, racist, homophobes and just say, okay, cool, he's allowed to have an opinion. It's okay. I guess I don't feel safe, but he has an opinion. Bull. That's bull. I'm taking my money, I'm walking. Everybody else needs to take their money, and we need to walk too. This is how we grow our things. This is how our parents grew their things. Boycotts work. Yeah. Y'all, diverting monies, diverting funds, diverting energies work. We have to start doing that for each other with the same veracity that we were using to try to fight to get into these rooms. Because what we've learned over 10 years or 25 years of industry is they still don't really want us there.
No, they don't.
They want the money we can bring. They don't necessarily want us there.
No, they definitely don't. They definitely don't. And so it's so much that you just dropped, right? That I want to respond to so many pieces of that. I want to kind of like go from, back to front, if you will. So the part that you said, as far as nobody's coming, no, that doesn't happen. So we have to know that we have to make it happen for ourselves. Another thing right now, those who are listening, watching, however you're consuming this content, follow all of us, connect with all of us, support all of us. We have to do that. Anytime any of us, a Black woman, a Black person is doing something, please support it. Like on social media, whatever, like it, comment it, share it, support that, because that's what we need to do. We have to make sure our voices are heard in multiple different ways. If we're having this panel and y'all not coming to it, then people are thinking that nobody wants that content. If you're doing a panel at one of these conferences, please sign up to go to it. Even if you don't necessarily show up, a lot of it is recorded content. Go ahead and play it, download it, something to let these people know that folks do want to hear from us. And absolutely, stop giving them money. Like, I only go because I'm speaking. I'm not about to give you any money to be at this, because on the real, honestly, I'm not getting anything out of it. What I do get out of it is those relationships, connecting with people. Another
Deneen, can I challenge that for a second?
Sure.
Because I want us to stop doing that. I want us to stop doing that too. They pay other people. They don't pay us. We got to stop going to things where it's exposure. I don't need to get paid in exposure anymore. The networking that can come from being at a conference is the same networking you can set up for yourself by setting up a couple of days in LA and maybe, taking some meetings or going to New York or going to Atlanta, or even going to the city where the conference is happening and not engaging with the conference, but engaging with your people that are there and doing those offline meetings. A lot of this is clandestine. I'm in the hallway and we say we're going to link up. We can make those plans ahead of time. I did a lot of I'll speak here because there's exposure, but I didn't get anything out of it. And then I would talk to people later and I'd find out, what do you mean you got paid? What do you mean they covered your this? What do you mean they took care of that? Because they pay for what they prioritize.
Yes.
They pay for what they prioritize. And if I'm not a priority and you're not going to pay me, then I know how effective I am as a speaker. I'm going to go someplace else and speak.
And you know what? And I'm with you on that, because after the second one that I went to, I basically said the same thing. I'm not sure if anybody else is going to get me at one of their other conferences unless they're paying me. Right. So for me, one or two, that's good. I saw, I'm figuring out how to navigate it, whatever, all the things that you're saying. Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, those that are listening, watching, we're dropping nuggets. We're dropping facts and information. Another thing I want to add, when we are in spaces, please speak. The one that I went to, I'm saying, hey, hi. Come on, y'all. It's only like 3 of us. So I don't know if some of these people are those people who I don't want nobody to really know I'm Black, so let me not, speak back and whatever. But I sure walked up in there, hey, hi to everybody, and didn't necessarily get that back in return. We have to stop doing that. We have to.
We do. And I want to interject just for a moment. And that's why it's so important what Twila just said and what DJ Tracy and Krystal as well. When I'm thinking about all of the different diversity that we have within our own platforms, because my platform is diverse. And one of the main reasons why I started CTR Media Network, because I wanted to have my voice. I didn't want anyone telling me how to say what I wanted to say, how I wanted to look, how I want to wear my hair, my dialect. I need to change this or change that. And so it's power in forming your own network, even if it's small. It's okay. And so when we all have these different platforms, but when we come together, it makes it more powerful, and we can still bring out the beauty and the essence and support with the buying power. Because like I said before, on average, it's $1 trillion coming through our community every single year. And so just imagine if we put just 5% of that circulate back, right? We need schools. We need mental health awareness to help us with mental health in our communities. We need different resources in our communities. We can use the power of podcasts in order to get this message out cost effectively and be able to really make a real change using these platforms in a way that can pour back into our community. And the big thing is what Twila said, if you are in these rooms, be in these rooms to get education. And then like DJ said, she came back, she said, okay, now I need to navigate it to be able to articulate this to the community, because let's face it, our culture has its own different heartbeat, our own different language within the language. And so we need to make sure that when we bring it back to our community, that we do it in a way that they can digest it and be able to implement it, because we can create our own economy. We're doing it for everybody else. It's time for us to do it for ourselves. And all of this information, I'm like sitting back here. I'm like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be on this panel and like pouring gems, but I need to like be writing notes. And I'm looking at what Krystal doing over there with Black Love. I'm like, okay, now what's up? but I'm just saying, all of this is very, very important. And as Black women, it's more and more of us getting into this media. All right. And with that being said, Danina, like, it's so much that we can do. And you know what? Networking is important. But when we get in these rooms, we don't network with each other first. And like she said, she went in saying, hey, hello, what's up? About 5 of us in this room. Hey, come on. We need to start communicating with each other and start working together in these rooms and having those side conversations that they have at the golf. at the barbecue. We need to start having these side conversations as well in order for us to position ourselves to go farther within our own independent hubs of media. And just imagine if all of us came together. We the trendsetters, we the history makers. Yeah, sure. Please interject, because I love hearing
because I love the idea of networking, and I think for a lot of people, networking is really intimidating, and I think that's why when you get to those conferences, you kind of seize up and you don't know how to, like, everybody turns into the awkward turtle that goes in the corner. I live in Minnesota, so I'm not in any of the big hub cities, and the way that I wound up doing the most effective networking is when the pandemic happened. I made a point to reach out to people with no agenda. And I think that's an important piece of this. That when we're at places like that, we think something has to come out of it. So we put too much pressure on that interaction. When I go in my DMs and I like somebody's work and I just go, like, hey, I was listening to your work. Like, my name's Twila. I was listening to your work. I just think you're great. I just want you to know I think you're great. Or I think I really like what you're doing here. Or when I know somebody and they say, and I say, hey, do you know XYZ person? And do you feel comfortable sharing a contact with me? Because I'd love to be able to just reach out to them and say hello. I mean, quite literally in this circle of people, I just got Krystal's contact information because Krystal did a super lovely, generous thing and directed people to donate to our micro grant. And we know each other like in a tertiary way, like through other people, but we didn't know each other directly. And so my first thought was, I already heard Krystal's a rad person. Why don't I have her contact information? So I called out Anna Deshawn, who I always say full name, Anna Deshawn, and say, hey, do you have a contact for Krystal? I'd love to just be able to reach out and say, hey, and thank you. That's how you do this. Mm-hmm. Make it non-agenda driven, because the thing is, we know how lonely it can be to make a podcast. So when you start getting to know people one-on-one and you start reaching out one-on-one, what happens is now you know people. Now you know more people, and it's never even about like a favor or anything. It just becomes, hey, now I know somebody that I can, reach out to that understands what I'm going through when I'm going through this, or somebody I can encourage, somebody who might encourage me. And then eventually it will lead to, hey, there's a job opening for XYZ. Do you know somebody, or are you looking for a role? Or, hey, girl, you need to go apply for this thing. I just heard about this accelerator. You should go apply for it. That's how you build up on the networking. Don't put so much pressure to make it like a deal has to be made, a professional contact has to be done. We're all still people. And the way we as a whole people have always navigated this, this life that we walk through, this experience we walk through as Black people in America, has always been, we lean on each other, we rely on each other. But that comes from relationship. That's why we all see each other and feel like we family when we see each other. We just got to keep that going in these social circles now and in these professional circles.
Yeah, and so the key about what you said is relationship building. Like me, I don't look at myself as a networker. I never have. Even other people are like, oh my God, you're great at networking. No, I'm a relationship builder. I'm about the relationship. I'm about, Twila, things that you just said. I'm building those relationships, just connecting with someone like, hey, and often I'm giving more than I'm receiving. Like I told you I'm at these conferences, I'm like, hey to everybody, I'm making connections. I'm a big connector, and I'm sharing like, okay, hey, you know about WOC podcasts. Oh, you don't? Link. Oh, the Black Podcast, Association, Afros and Audio, and then like I just learned recently about, I think it's the Black Podcast Network, and then BIPOC, so when I learn about something like, we've all said, I'm sharing it with other people, because folks are in our different places, silos, wherever we are, and we don't know about all the things. And so somebody has to bring us together and connect. And when we do connect and then share it, right? That's how we continue to build. But I want to kind of go ahead and pivot. So we're done with the stats. We're good with that. So, and then I'm going to come back to monetization, the buying power, and then I want to ask about YouTube. But the title of this panel is Behind the Scenes with Black Women in Podcasting. And the purpose is to let the world know that you all exist. What has been the most challenging as a Black woman in your specific lane in podcasting? How's it for you now? What tips do you have for those aspiring to do what you do? And Krystal, I'm going to kick it off with you.
Oh, okay. Dang. I wasn't ready. I was like looking at my tooth. Sorry, it's like it winked at me. The most challenging as a Black woman in my specific lane. You either know the joke or you don't, folks. In my specific lane see, Corey came over here to laugh. My specific lane in podcasting. I think you get to a certain point, and this is actually going to be the funny part. So I am the director of podcasts for a phenomenal company called Black Love Inc. I work for a Black company, and I go into podcasting spaces where when people find out where I work, they no longer care about what I do. That's been the most challenging thing. Whereas if I told them I had the exact same position at a Spotify or at an iHeart or at an Audible, it would be a different reaction. I run a podcast network. I run a podcast network that has over, we have over 2-point-something million organic listens within we hit that number in under a year, under 2 years. Organic listens, y'all, are no marketing. That was just putting out content. We hit a part of, we have 2 Ambie nominations, an NAACP Image Award nomination. We're Signal Award winning. We've Black Podcast Award winning. None of that matters to nobody. And that is probably the most challenging part about my specific lane, is convincing non-Black people that what I do is important and valid and needs to exist. And I mean, that's the hardest part. Was that the whole question? Did I answer the whole question?
You know what? You answered enough.
Okay, good. Because
Right.
it's about to get real difficult up in this piece. And I got a weird lisp going on. So I'm gonna let it slide.
And when you said what you said, what came to mind for me, for those who know, remember Mad Libs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And the kid, the face and the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I just came to mind. With Krystal in her situation.
That's hurtful. That's hurtful.
No.
Dang, on a Wednesday?
Well, you said it, Krystal.
On a Wednesday?
Sure. I just walked in. So
We have a real good dental plan here.
So you're still dealing with this, right? So something that you're still dealing with. Do you have any tips on, have you been able to successfully navigate it? Or
do I have any tips? Yeah, the tips are, I just stopped caring. I just stopped caring, because the question I would get into rooms was like, and it's, when it's real patronizing and people, what's Black love? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? The concept or the company? Like, because I'm not going to explain both to you. Like, if you don't understand the concept at its foundation, I can't help you. I can tell you what we do as a media company, but if you don't understand the concept of Black love, like Google, it's your friend. But I mean, it's still difficult now. It's still difficult to go into predominantly white spaces and try to convince people that you deserve to be there. That doesn't get less hard. But part of my job is to be the advocate for my talent, is to be the advocate for my shows. But also I find that it's part of my job to be the advocate for my community and to be the advocate for the people who can't get into those spaces. And so does it get less hard now? Is it for him? No, it's the same, but I just, I've adjusted to it. And I've got a lot of great people that I can text and be like, guess who just was really trashy to me in this room? And they'll guess, and we all have the same list of people. So we all know who the same list of people are. So like, that's the fun part. It's like when you all know who the same list of people are that like are not great. So like, I'm sure I could text a name to Twila right now and she'd be like, yeah, I know that person. Yeah. So it's just like, and that's what it goes back to what Twila is saying. Like, we got to just stop showing up to these people, like to these places and with these people. But it's just like, you have to, there are just sometimes and some places you have to go and like talk to people. You just got to, because eventually you gotta get people paid. And I like, I got to go buy a tooth. So you got to go talk to people.
So I'm going to ask the same question of Dr. Tina. So I'll read it again, the question part of it. So what has been the most challenging as a Black woman in your specific lane in podcasting? So past, and how is it for you now? And what tips do you have for those aspiring to do what you do?
Whew. I want to be positive, but the fact of the matter is, it's not rainbows and cherries, okay? And so I go along with Krystal. You may get invited in some of these rooms, but the treatment once you get in these rooms are not favorable. And the fact of the matter is, you can have more experience, you can be more qualified or as qualified as some of your constituents in the room, and you are still not taken seriously. If it is a deal on the table, you get the lowest deal, and you are expected to be grateful that you just have the opportunity. When ones are getting paid 3, 4, 5 times as more than you, and you're doing as much or more. And so, like Krystal, I had to develop a harder demeanor because of, I used to be a little soft nature, but now I'm a little tough now, because I have so many things that has happened that you got to learn to just carry yourself and also have you a strong tribe around you. So when those moments happen, you can fall back on the people in your tribe to like motivate you. You can relate different experiences, and you can keep going on. You don't have to depend on someone handing you an opportunity. Like Twila said before, we have to start creating these opportunities for ourselves, because they're not going to always come. Okay. And then when they come, they might not be wrapped up in the nice little Tiffany box that we thought we was going to get. It might just be an old Kmart box, you know? So, you know, it's not easy. And you get the door slammed in your face quite a bit. That's why it's power in starting your own. And it's power in having ownership. And it's power in knowing who you are and why you do what you do. And so for me, it takes a lot of affirmations, making sure I'm putting the right things in my mind for positivity, being around the right people. But I don't think it's ever, to be truthfully honest, I don't think it's ever going to be easier, because we're melanated and then we're women. Yeah. Okay. This is a male dominated industry. So with that stride, this walk, this journey that we decide to take on, it comes with those challenges that's reflective not only inside the community, but outside the community. So I wish it could be different, but I mean, ladies, am I wrong? I mean, do you think it's going to change within the next 5, 10, maybe perhaps 20 years? I don't really think so. So that's why we need to have these healthy conversations and build each other up. That's my personal opinion from my personal experience.
Nope. And it's all valid and it's all good. And it speaks to what we've been talking about all along, that community. So having that squad, having your, board of directors, having a sisterhood, having, relationships and family and friends around you to support you through it all. That's what we need to do. And even, and going back to how it was for us, Twila, I believe you were saying this all along, but how it was for us as Black folks from back in the day, up until now, it's always been about that community. I remember a historian for the Kappas in Detroit. I'm in Detroit. And he happened to mention how, I think he maybe was in Virginia, and how during his time, the community would come together, put their money together for that student or students who were going away to school. They had their backs. Right. And so then things happened to whereas we got away from that. And then it became about, okay, well, I got mine, you know what I'm saying? So let me go out in the burbs and so on and so forth. And we left community. We went out of community. Right. And so now we're like, oh, my God, I need to get back to that. Right. And so it's definitely, it takes effort for us to go ahead and build that community. But the bottom line is, the key is we have to build that community. We're not wanted in other spaces, and we're continuously reminded of that. So, and I'm not saying not to go to those spaces. I'm saying have a purpose for being there, making sure you're getting something out of it, not that they're getting more out of you than you're getting. So that's how I feel about that. But I do want to go ahead and shift, and I want to throw this one to Tracy. And I want you, when you're talking about this, I'm sure this will come up, but I want to make sure that you do start talk about monetization. So share a bit about your journey to where you are. And I know you talked about selling CDs or
yeah.
I want to get paid. We want to, start making that money and not having to rely on sponsorships that control.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So we can talk a little bit about my journey. I wanted to answer that question, so I'm just gonna quickly go into that though, because that was a good one for me. Because I do stand in these spaces where I'm the only Black woman, and the toughest part is that I'm a Black woman. Like, everybody who knows me knows that I'm a very strong leader. I'm an organizer. It's why I'm good at what I do. You know what I mean? So sometimes you can go in these spaces and they can be like, oh wow, the moment is tense. It's not tense. I'm holding you accountable. So, you know what I mean? Like holding that space inside of my Blackness as a Black woman, because we do that exceptionally well. Naturally, we're great leaders in that way. So, just being myself in that way and constantly going with the way that I feel and the way that I would approach it. I present a little bit more masculine. So I think people tolerate me a little bit more. My queerness is, in there too. So people tolerate me. But, as Black women, I think sometimes we soften ourselves in these spaces because it's like, we don't want to be the angry Black woman. Well, if you make me mad, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I see people wild out all the time. I deal with top talent, middle talent. I deal with a lot of people in a lot of different spaces. So don't for one second, anybody who's listening or watching this, think that you shouldn't radically be yourself, because that's the confusion in it all. Them wanting you to be somebody else and be your bossy Black self, because that has gotten me into a lot of gigs, to be honest, because people know when I take responsibility for something, it's gonna follow through. You know what I mean? There's no way it's not gonna get done, because I'm gonna find a way or I'm gonna make one, which goes into very quickly into my monetization of a conversation that we were having. My journey in monetization started when I was a kid. I begged my parents to go to entrepreneurship camp. I grew up in Chicago, so I went to Providence St. Mel High School right there on the west side. I went to entrepreneurship camp at Hope College, which was like pretty awesome at the time. I won a $500 stipend. I went to Radio Shack and I bought a CD DVD burner, and I burnt my CDs and I started selling CDs on the train. You know what I mean? Then my mom was like, all right, this is illegal. You can't keep selling CDs and DVDs. So then she got me in Girl Scouts. So I started selling cookies. I learned how to sell. You know what I mean? I always knew that I was good at creating monetization. I got the same business ideas in a notebook that I had when I was a kid. My mom and the people who nurtured me through Purdue. I went to Purdue as well. So I did go to a PWI right there in Indiana. I was in the entrepreneurship program as well. I was one of the first to graduate from that. They really nurtured and helped me legitimize business. I think as Black people, sometimes we think we hustling. They be like, oh, you got 3 jobs. You a hustler. It's like, no, I'm a business. I'm a mogul. I'm a forward thinker. I'm organizing. I'm running 4 different. I had a karaoke company, a DJ company. I was selling T-shirts, hats, all of these different things. But I would be making, sometimes $2,000 a week. And people would be like, what? How you making this money? I had went in and partnered with business owners. This is a little hustle I'm just going to tell you about. So I had a karaoke company, because I was DJing, but DJing at the club and all of that, that's not regular money. So I wanted to have something on the books every week. So I started a karaoke company in Indianapolis called Indie Karaoke Company. So I went to Black bars and I asked the owners, I said, what day is your slowest day? What day do you need people to come in? They were Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I would come in, I would say, okay, I'll bring my karaoke stuff. I'm gonna bring a portable TV. I'm gonna set up and I'm gonna do it for free for 2 weeks. Okay. I'm gonna throw a little party. I'm gonna get everybody, all my people who follow me. I'm gonna do an Eventbrite. We gonna do it. So, we did it 2 times. And then I asked the business owner, all right, what did your bottom line look like when my people came in here and they bought tickets and they bought drinks, and food and all of that. It's great. Can you come back in? Absolutely. This next time I do it, can I sell tickets at the door and then do vouchers for food? So I'm giving, maybe I charge them $10, but you give them $12 and a drink credit or something like that. Absolutely, Treese, we'll work on. So I had me a little affiliate deal. So now I'm selling tickets at the door and I'm getting a little bit off of the food and bev to get more people to, be encouraged to do that. By the end of that, I had so many karaoke contracts that I was able to sell my business to another DJ, because I had things that was $250 a day. I was just setting up a TV. And then what I did was, in order to grow myself, talking about community, I started hiring college students. And I was paying them $75 an hour to go hook up a TV at the wing joint on Tuesdays and Thursdays to do karaoke. And it was low touch and it was really easy to do. But that's the power of community, right? It's like, where does your business need help? where can I fill in the gap? But you got to do sometimes proof of concept in the Black community, because we ain't got the funds to give you $250 up front. So, I went and set up my stuff, made it as lit as I could, made them a flyer, just showed them a little bit of the things, because a lot of these business owners don't know. They don't have the time. And you can do the same thing, that same process that I just told y'all, do it with podcast advertising. If you have a podcast that's talking about wellness, let's say, for instance, you have a fitness and wellness podcast, go into your local gyms in your neighborhood. Don't call Platinum Fitness. Don't do none of them. Go to the ones that's owned by real people in your neighborhood. Maybe it's a karate dojo or something like that. Go in there and tell them people, hey, I have a podcast. It's regional. How about you give me some kind of code Trees, and people could come in and buy karate lessons. All right. I'm going to put it on my podcast for a month. At the end of the month, I'm going to come back and I'm going to see how many people came. You go see them again. How many people came? 2 people came in. How much does that mean for your customer? Okay, well, 2 people for me is $150 each every month. So I just got you $300 off of a podcast ad that I ran all month. How about you pay me $100 next month and I'll double the frequency, or I'll put it in video, or I'll do, you know what I mean? You got to sometimes hustle and create the monetization strategy for yourself. But we forget, because we on the internet, that it's money outside. We stepping over dollars that are outside of our house to collect pennies on the internet and streaming dollars. This is low money, but you can actually go and hustle and do that kind of thing and build a legitimate business for yourself while enriching your community. Because now, how many kids at the karate place? Way more. You know what I mean? Now you helped another small business owner while helping somebody else, and then he's gonna tell his friend, because small business owners hang out with who? Small business owners. They got a bunch of other friends. They all hanging out at Restaurant Depot and Menards and all these other places around the country. So once you start, it's a little ripple effect, but it can build you a really big business. And that's what I've done, rinse and repeat, a lot of different times in media, but also in performance with, DJing and physical activations. And in podcasting, you can do that as well with live podcast activations.
And so what Tracy just dropped is some straight up knowledge, right? She just dropped ways to make money. Again, she didn't talk anything about getting sponsorship dollars from those big companies. No, she did not. She said, go to your community, go to those places that you hang out anyway, and, come up with different ideas, lean into what you're passionate about, lean into what you do, and you don't even think about it. Like, people are saying, oh my God, you do that so well. Those are the things that we can start getting paid off of. And I'll tell you, I just had this recent experience, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to start charging for that. I was at a conference, and I'll say the name of this one because it's for us. I was at Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit. And while I was there, I was talking all weekend. I'm talking about podcasting. I'm talking about LinkedIn. And so I'm just dropping all this, free knowledge. And then I'm like, wait, hold up. Somebody else had texted me and said, oh my God, I see you. I see what you're doing. I want to talk to you about my podcast. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. I'm about to start getting paid. So if you want my time, it costs, right? Because where I've gotten to, I put time and energy and effort. I've invested in it, etc. So absolutely, I'm going to start charging for those things. So for you all that are listening or watching, think about those things. Think about those things that you just do naturally, that just come naturally. And those are ways for you to start monetizing, for you to start getting paid doing some of those things. So thank you so much. Thank you. I want to know, what do we feel about YouTube? So I just learned that YouTube has a podcast, something. I don't really fully know what it is, but I do know that you can, upload your video and you can click the podcast playlist. And then I saw someone, I think, had posted on Facebook that actually the YouTube podcast is a number 1. So YouTube has jumped to number 1, Spotify is number 2, and Apple is number 3. So any quick thoughts on this?
Well, it goes back to, it wasn't created for us. Okay. Okay, let me just explain something. DJ Tracy just broke it down. Okay. Mm-hmm. How can I say it? YouTube do have it, because I'm one of those people that's in these rooms with Spotify, YouTube, where they put me in these beta because they see what I'm doing and how I utilize podcasts. And so they want to get your opinion, want to get your, and FYI, they do pay you for that. So those of you who just giving it away for free, rethink that, because if I'm giving you my ideas on how to make your platform better, you're going to pay me for my knowledge to make it better for you, for my time. And so I come in, because I want to make sure that the people in my community are informed of what's going on with the stuff that I can share if I'm not under NDA. And so they pay you pennies on the dollar. So if you are not at least have 100,000 followers, rolling about 20K, 40K per video, you're not really going to see any money. And then they have a threshold that they're not going to pay you until you reach $100 threshold. So it's going to take, even if you're monetized, it's going to take a while before you really start seeing that money, even though they're putting all those commercials on every single podcast or every single piece of content that you have. They're making a lot of money, but you're not making a lot of money until you reach that threshold. Now, let me tell you something. I had to figure out how to monetize myself on these platforms that was holding me back from being monetized. And although they're making money off my content. So I don't need YouTube to monetize. I monetize myself. Instead of just using that description box that tells about your video, that is your selling ticket. Okay. I sell space on my description. So if someone say, hey, Tina, I see what you're doing. I have a wellness business. I know you speak about wellness. You speak about homeschooling. You speak about podcasting. I see you run commercials doing your podcast. How much does that cost? Oh, I would love to tell you. I charge for video commercial space. I charge for ones who want for me to just say a shout out of saying they business, pop their website on the screen. The description is powerful. You can charge $25, which is not a lot of money. So I always make it a way that the small business owners, as well as ones that's in the higher payment bracket, everybody can get in where they fit in, because I always want to make sure I have something for ones that's just beginning. $25 a pop. Put their name or business name and their link. $25. 4 people, that's $100. What? That is amazing. Then you turn around, then you have your other stuff on other platforms that will not monetize you. And then they have what they call support. They have subscriptions. But what about if you don't have 10,000 followers yet? Create your own subscriptions. Go to Square, go to PayPal and create your own link and say, hey, you want to be a part of my subscription? You want to support me? You create your own link and you call it support the Tina Ramsey Show. It is so many ways that you can duplicate what they're doing and you can independently do it for yourself. You do not have to wait for these platforms to monetize you. You have the knowledge, you have the power, you have the great content to do it yourself. And then once you start doing it yourself, they start noticing you, and then they're going to want to pay you too. But you don't have to wait. Do it yourself, okay? Mm-hmm. Look. You're locked in.
Nope. And you know what? And that's
product placement. People buy space for me to post. I don't have to say a word. Product placement. Hey, hello, everybody. This is the Tina Ramsey Show. And they're like, what's that over there? Because people knows it. What's that? Product placement for a wellness company. Don't even have to say a word, okay? People can buy space. You can wear their shirt, be a walking billboard. That's money. We have to start opening our mind to a whole lot of different possibilities that's outside, like Teresa said, outside of these social media streets, thinking that we can only make money on the platform on which we're on. No, we can create it ourselves. We've been doing it for centuries.
Can I add a little bit to what Dr. Tina is saying? Because there is an alternative to YouTube, because video on demand is a place that you need to be. Okay. No podcaster in the world right now is going to tell you video on demand isn't something you need to look into. But a good example of that, and a Black person who's done that, is Kev on Stage. If you go to his page, he has a OTT network of his own, which means that it's the same YouTube videos that you would like and interact with, but he has it behind a paywall. And it's only like $2.99 a month or something like that. But he also does pay-per-view things. So if you're having this big conference that you want to sell tickets to, you can do pay-per-view and pay $10 or $15 per video that way, but so there are ways that you can put your content. Vimeo is another one that has an OTT capability. I'm sure that's what Kev uses to build on top of. But there are a lot of other ones that you could just build your own channel. You can put it on Roku. You can put it on Apple TV. It does take a little bit of investment. Some of them are, for the online page, is free. But OTT, just look it up. It means over the top. and you can create your own channel, the Tracy Treats channel. And I could sell $1, pay what you want to pay. You know what I mean? La Russell is a rapper who does that. Pay what you can. He's made a lot of money off that. So using your video to your advantage at your discretion. And also you could use music that's not something that they're gonna run through there. You can do things that are a little bit, you know, more risque or more into your lane that is gonna be if it's behind a paywall as well. So just look into ways that you can create your experience for your own self.
So I hope y'all are getting this, you know, taking notes, because we're getting you paid right now, right? So these, you know, Black women in podcast, these are getting you paid different ways on your terms. So I'm going to kind of do like a little lightning, if you will, just a little bit, and just ask one person at a time a question. So Twila, what is the most gratifying thing about what you do?
The fact that I get to not only use my creativity, use my voice every single solitary day, but I actually get to be a conduit to help other people do the work that I do. I used to think I was the center of my business. I'm not the center. I'm at the center of an opportunity. And I try to use that opportunity every day to help somebody else. I wake up every day going, I get to make podcasts for a living. It is not digging ditches. And I get to go to bed every day and go, I did hard work that didn't involve, you know, physical labor, that didn't involve, you know, having to suffer indignation, you know, in a direct fashion, the way my mother, my father, my grandparents, you know, my loved ones did. I get to use this every single day at the most creative point of entry, and I get paid. And not only do I get paid, I get to model for my children that they could have any kind of life that they want. It's not just go get a job that pays your bills or you're always going to be in debt. My children are now like, when I start my own business, this is what it's going to look like. And I'm like, and I'm the first investor. So that's transformational. The best part of this is that I never imagined in a million years I would be doing this. And now I actually live, you know, a wild dream that was in the back of my head. And the craziest part is it's not even the best one. It was just the first one.
I love that. I absolutely do, especially what you're modeling for your children. I have a 21-year-old son, and I remember us having a conversation last year where he mentioned, like, Mom, you know, I've known you, watched you all my life, and, you know, you're doing this, you're doing that, and, you know, and I'm inspired, I'm motivated, right? And so that's gratifying for me. That is, you know, one of the things that means a lot, because my intention is to be that example for him. Like, I share with him, like, I want this thing over here. This is what I'm doing to get it, you know, didn't get it, so on and so forth, probably because this, that, and yeah, you know, just having those conversations, but sharing it with him so that he can, you know, learn from what I
Okay.
No, I think we lost you, Deneen, for a second. Can you repeat Krystal's question?
Oh
Yeah.
man. Okay, Krystal, what changes would you like to see, and how do we get there?
First off, why do I get these hard ass questions? And second, why do I gotta follow Twila when she said something hella inspirational? She's like, I'm going to show and make an example for these future children, and I'm just like, what changes would you like to see? It's like, I mean, look, I think we all have a list of changes we'd like to see. I think we've all said a whole bunch of stuff that we'd like to see change. I don't have a plan as to how do we get to where we want to go. I think very much each individual has to move in a way that gets us to where we want to be. I'm very much a believer of the golden rule of do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, and that's how I move in the space. So, like, if I want someone to give me information, I have to be the person giving out information. If I want people to support my shows, I have to go and support other people's shows. So, like, I just want people to I say it time and time again, I need people to give non-performative efforts for other people. because a lot of people come in here and they're like, yeah, I'm here to support you. I'm here to do it. And then I'm just like, hey, could you just like go give a review on their show? And they're like, oh, sorry about that. Actually, as it turns out, I need to go get this tooth filled. So I don't have time to go and do that 5-star thing. I'm on my phone right now and I could do it, but I can't because I'm gotta go. Like, nah, non-performative effort and just moving in the space in the way that you said you would and the way with intention. Because I'm that person. I'm really that person. If I say I'm going to do something, I got to be the first person to do it. And I want everyone to be that. I want everyone to be the first person. That's how we get there. Everyone has to be the first person to do the thing that they want someone else to do.
Yeah, no, I can dig that, right? Make a change, do your part. Absolutely. So don't be mad at me, Krystal, but this question I'm going to throw to Tracy. Who inspires you and what about them is inspirational?
This is hard because I'm like Snoop. First of all, I'm a Libra. So I inspire me most.
Okay,
so I
that's
really
right.
don't ever say that.
Okay,
But
now.
I think like Damon John,
Mm.
you know, like we said for us by us a long time ago, but like I've been, you know, following his blueprint for a really long time. People like Snoop, you know, who have been advocating for do it yourself the whole time. Like it's been in front of our face. And I think that they've done partnerships with larger people. Dang, who's some black media people? People like, you know, I was a little girl growing up in Chicago. So Tom Joyner, you know, Sybil Wilkes, all of those people are just people that I always look up to because, you know, I wanted to be a kid in radio, but it turned out that it was going to be podcasting, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's just, you know, you can play it whenever you want. Yeah, just people like that. Anybody to be quite honest, who's also like Rihanna, Beyonce. I keep saying these are huge people, but the reason that I like these people is because they're good at the one thing that people expected them to be, and then they're radically good at something else that nobody thought that they could be good at, you know. And I think it's very important to be that multifaceted version of yourself and be empowered to be that, because a lot of times once you get good at something, you know, I was a DJ and people couldn't believe I was gonna stop DJing. I was your auntie's favorite DJ. I was DJing all the jams, right? And it was like I had to quit in order to become a higher version of myself. There was no way that I could create the things that I could create today if I was still DJing your baby shower. You know what I mean? Like you was going to baby shower me to death. How many Cupid shuffles was I going to play? You know, I gave you 10 years. But people don't sometimes want to see you do that risky thing because they feel like maybe they're inadequate in some way and they're projecting their feelings onto you. Don't do that. Oh, you might not be good. I don't care if people think my stuff's trash. I produce so much stuff. Like, yes, some of my podcasts from 2016 are garbage. The audio, the echo, you know what I mean? But
it's a journey.
It's a journey. Right. And anybody who can be, you know, authentically themselves and then try something radically different and then make that business work. Because for me, it's always that journey. You know, when I start something, I'm like, I'm gonna give it 10. I'm gonna give it 10 years because it takes that long for you to get good and to research and to do all these things. But if it no longer serves you, it's okay to put it down and or keep it monetized and running. You know what I mean? And then run something else. Just feel empowered to create whatever. We always say that I'm a creator. And it's like, are you really? You do one kind of thing. And it's like, you can create. I make hair products. I make websites sometimes. You know, I'm not saying that I'm diversifying my business and all that those ways, but right now I'm a really great producer and I'm going to give that everything that I have. And I'll probably be in this job longer than any other one that I've had, but I've been a really awesome salesperson. I've been a really great DJ. Like, so anybody who can model that way is really who I would look up to, just showing up every day and getting better and then mastering something and then breaking it down and starting over.
Yeah. And, you know, and a person for me. And so anytime I have an opportunity to throw this name out there, I will, because I'm attracting and manifesting, have her on my podcast, Issa Rae. So yes. Issa Rae, hands down. And here's the reason. She's a game changer, right? She showed us where she was in college creating these web series. And most people think that Awkward Black Girl was her first one. It was actually her third one. The first one was Dorm Diaries. The second one was something with her brother's band. And then the third one that, you know, caught on is Awkward Black Girl. But she went from that person to who she is today. And she's brought people along. She told these big money people, these big companies, like, if you want me, this is what it takes, right? And so everything that we're talking about, that's what we have to do. Even though we're, we may not be at Issa's level yet, but we still can say, well, if you want me, this is what it takes, right? Like, oh no, I'm not doing that thing for free. No, I need to have XYZ in order for you to have my time, my voice. I love how Dr. Tina was talking about, doing these focus groups and getting paid to do them, because there's so many things that like want us to better test, and we're signing up and then thinking, wait a minute, you getting like my expertise, you're getting my intelligence, etc., for free. So I love that she mentioned that, right? So we can think twice about that next time. Okay, Twila, nope, Dr. Tina, who are your mentors, people who guide you, your sponsors, people who advocate for you? What is the importance of either in both? And I'm distinguishing mentors from sponsors because they are different.
Ooh, Krystal, she just did the whammy on me. She gave me on the hot seat. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, for me, I have a variety of different mentors, which and what I had to learn is that they don't always have to do what you do. And so I have like some amazing mentors like Sheree Moore from She Trucking, an amazing woman who actually has her own podcast, but she helps minorities and women in trucking and speak and advocate for them. And so she's one of my mentors and coaches. Of course, I have other people that may not know that they're mentoring me that I look at on YouTube and get all of that. Of course, my husband, who was the first person who started with entrepreneurship in our family. And I thought he was completely crazy. Why do you want to drop that 401k? Are you crazy? Job security. But, it took me some time, but I eventually got to it. And other people, I have that like third level where different people at different phases in my life come into my life during different seasons, and they help teach me a point or something that actually help propel me to the next step. And so it's like that revolving door. They change faces. They may not be a woman one time, they may be a man, but they all play a dramatic role in me leveling up. And so, and I know it's probably some people that I'm forgetting, and I'm so sorry because I wasn't prepared for this speech. But those are the ones who I can think of off the top of my head. In regards to sponsorships, I had this amazing when I first brought up the vision of CTR Media Network and like the power of podcasting, her name was Terry Coleman. Now, mind you, I thought that she either knew my mentor, Sheree Moore, or someone within my circle. Come to find out, she didn't know either of us or anyone in my initial circle, but I was doing a Facebook Live. So it's not a Facebook Live, an IG Live. So you guys, it's power in going live, okay, on IG. And I was telling people about my vision for CTR and why I want to do what I do and why I needed sponsorships. And she believed in me. And she not only believed in me, she put seed money into my business and just kept supporting me. And she became my mentor as well over time. And she was in real estate, selling multi-million-dollar homes. And so I don't want us to be so in a box thinking that a person has to be in your niche in order to mentor you, lift you up, and take you to the next level. All these women came along doing different things, but the foundational pieces was all the same. And the sad thing is that she passed away. She passed away December. And so she will always be a focal point. I will always pay homage to her for everything that she has done. She gave to me a complete stranger. And so sponsors are very powerful in the fact that they see your vision, they see what you're doing, they believe in it, and it's like an interchange. So they're contributing with monetary donations, but you're also providing them with a service of whatever you're doing. And so it's like that perfect win-win situation. And so I appreciate both of them. Both of them have its place, but you need both in your life. And so I'm just grateful. And I just think about how I never thought, like Twila said, that I'll be a full-time podcaster in a million years. Like that was not when you'd be a little girl go and they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I want to be a podcaster. What? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer, something like that, but not a podcaster. And I'm telling you, you guys, I lost everything. Okay. I lost everything, and I get emotional when I think about how far I came. Like, my account was down to zero. And it was through the power of podcast that took me from zero to hero. And that's why I share all of these tips. And I am not a large person with a large following compared to most. And so I don't want you to feel like you have to have a billion or a million followers or 100,000 followers on one social media platform in order to make it. You have to have that hustle, that grind, like DJ Tristan said. You have to know that that what you're putting into the world, it has impact, it has power, and you're supposed to put a price on it, okay? Yes, I do free things for the community. I never forget the community. But also I realize that this is my gift, this is my skill. And in order for me to create my digital legacy, I have to keep getting paid, okay? And so I will always do free, but also I do have a fee, okay? And so understanding that and growing into that, I just want you guys to know what kind of power you have in your hand. And you can do this from the comfort of your home. Of course, you can have all these nice studios, but you can do this. I started with my cell phone. Sitting my lazy boy in the corner. People thought I had a whole studio. No, ma'am. Cell phone, sitting on my lazy boy, trying to create an environment experience with a candle lit, trying to get into the mood, the top. And now I have all of this, and it took time, but I'm just saying, you guys, just believe a little bit and then move forward. You can do whatever you put your mind to, and podcasting is really a great way to change your financial situation for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like we said, if we control it, we're in a driver's seat. We can talk about what we want to talk about, and we can ask for and advertise whatever we want to advertise. Mm-hmm. Regarding sponsors and mentors, you want to have more than one, right? Because you want those different perspectives. You want to learn from different people because we're all going, different levels. We're multi-hyphenate. We have we're diverse in what we do. And so we want to get perspectives from different people. So this next one I'm going to ask Twila, because Twila, in essence, this is what your business is. How are you paying it forward, impacting those coming up behind you, mentoring, sponsoring, elevating Black women?
Well, I will be really honest. When I started the business, we couldn't sell anything on Black women. No, I live in the Midwest. I live in a predominantly white area. So getting sponsors, getting people to support the shows, it couldn't look like me. Even me presenting myself as the owner of the business was difficult. So we built our first set of shows were built around white women and white presenting faces, because that's what the sponsors and the greater money people would support and give us money for. Now that we're established, I'm able to do several things. One, I'm able to platform Black women, which I'm now starting to do really at a high level and an effective level, and bringing in established shows, building out new shows, taking former shows that were led by white women, and as those shows turn over and evolve, we're now bringing Black women and other women of color in. That is thrilling for me. The other thing that I do on a regular basis is try to connect and mentor and give them my time, whether it's through Women in Podcasting, which is something we do once a month, which is a free offering where I just show up, and it's an AMA. It's 2 hours of me and whoever else is in that room answering whatever questions about the industry we can answer for you. There's no such thing as a silly question. There's just a question that needs an answer, and I want you to get what you need. And then last year we were able to add an additional layer. We wanted to help more women in a tangible way, and the easiest way to do that was trying money. So we started something called Our Greatness. It's a micro grant program aimed directly at Black women. We also extend it to women of color. But it's the ability to give between $250 and $450 to a woman who is trying to get into podcasting, who is working in podcasting. And sometimes that small amount of money is the difference between, can I afford a platform host for a year? Can I buy my first piece of equipment? Can I take myself to a training? Can I pay for an editor? It's that very small thing that takes you from, I don't think I can do this, to I have some help now, I have some support, I can do this. We take donations. Krystal, shout out Krystal Hill, because she was super generous with her time and energy and platform to help support the business. But we also extend that to another layer. So the money goes directly to podcasters. I don't take any of that money. I don't take a dime out of that money. We also partner with Black women artists to help create art, so we can do drops. We try to do them at least once a year. And what happens is, if we're able to sell merchandise, half the money goes into the fund, the other half goes directly to support that artist. So we're trying to create even more opportunities for artists to get exposed, get their work exposed, make some money on their art, possibly get into a new feed and platform of making podcast art or working with podcasters to do other things. And that's just an extension of what we're attempting to continue to do, which is, as long as I have individual power to try to help individuals in this industry, to help women, help Black women in this industry, I'm going to keep doing that. Hopefully these things will line up and sort of build on themselves. But as I always say, as long as I got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a brain that works, I'm gonna be out here trying to do what I can do for all of us.
We appreciate that. So I want to kind of like somewhat define a few terms. So mentoring. So when I talk about mentoring, that's people who guide you. When I talk about sponsors, because in this context, sponsor typically means people put money in your pocket. It also means people who are advocating for you, right? So it doesn't always mean that it's money is being part of it. So it could just be somebody who's in those rooms that you're not in that are speaking about you. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that to everybody, because I wanted to bring that point home, right? That there's people that mentor us, whether they do it knowingly or unknowingly. As Dr. Tina said, there's people that she watches on, videos. Like we all talk about famous people that they don't know that they're mentoring us, but they are. And then as far as a sponsoring, monetary, definitely. And then sponsoring from the perspective of you have, you're in that room, somebody has a job or an opportunity, and they mention you. So I wanted to throw those out there for everybody to be aware of that. So I have 3 questions left, and whoever's the first person to jump on it, go ahead. And we only have a few minutes. So what would the 10-year-old you think of what you're doing? Would she be surprised? What from your childhood relates to your...
Ooh, I'm gonna answer that one. For my 5th birthday, I got a talk girl, which is from the movie Home Alone, but you could like record yourself talking with blank tapes. So I used to sit in my room for hours and talk to myself and just do shows. So 10-year-old me who started to get speakers and rewire them till now, like I would be like, just like I drew it, like I knew it. I knew I was gonna do this. It's exactly like it. I would be extremely proud.
I love that. So raise your hand if back in the day on your report card you got she talks too much.
Girl, constantly, every class, but whatever. Now I talk for a living.
Okay, so yes, so for those of you who are raising girls or whatever, and those negative things that they say, that's why it's important about language and and what you say about people, what you speak into people. So it's not she talks too much. She has an assertive voice. She's going to be powerful. She can be a speaker. So we need to make sure that we're encouraging these things that at one point people saw as negative. How do you want people to support Black women behind the scenes in podcasting?
Listen to our shows, write reviews, get in the DMs and encourage them. Tell your friends and family to listen. Tell your people in your networks to listen, because we know that that's how podcasts are discovered. It's by word of mouth. So don't just like that podcast. Take the link out of your Spotify and text it to your sister, text it to your cousin, text it to your friends, and tell them this is it. You should be listening to this. This is really great. Buy their merch. Right? If they're offering something, if they have an offering, every single podcaster should have some sort of a direct donate option. Do not limit people's ability to be generous with their time, energy, and money. Offer them an opportunity to put money in your pocket, even if it's just $5 or $1, whatever it is. Make it easy for them to show up. And then, hey, all of us, show up. Really, show up. Show up in big ways and in small ways. Go, like a comment, like a post. Make sure you send an email to send some encouragement. Again, those reviews and things like that matter when we put them in a presentation or a deck for a sponsorship, and it shows that we've got impact on things. So show up in the way, everybody has individual power in the everyday. Show up in the everyday and use your individual power to support and put your energy behind the things that matter to you. Don't just say it matters to have Black women in podcasting. Show up for them every day.
Yes. All right. Final question. What do you want people to know about Black women behind the scenes in podcasting?
That we exist, that we hear, that we make it, that we run it, that we're at the top, that we doing all the things. That chances are, if you're listening to a show, that there's a Black woman working on it, and they're just probably not being credited. That you can find a Black woman to work in whatever position behind the scenes in podcasting that you want, whether it's an editor, a sound designer, a writer, a researcher, a talent booker, a producer, an associate producer, a video editor, someone to color correct on your shows. There is a Black woman doing all of those things, and they are there, and they are not hard to find. You're just making it sound like they're hard to find. So that's what I want people to know, is that there is a Black woman doing all the things behind the scenes in podcasting.
As always, right? What's new? Nothing. This is not new for us, right? It's just a different medium. It's nothing is new. We've been doing these things, right? And hey, thank you so much. I'm Danina Garrett. I am the creator and host of Women of Color in Intimate Conversation, and my purpose and mission in life is to elevate the voices of women of color and empower them to live a dream lifestyle. As I said, I also coach and consult. So I'm, doing the things. I'm loving this space. I appreciate you all and your voices. Thank you so much. So again, follow us, comment, share, tell people.
Dang, not at the end. She got got. She got got.
No, not again.
I'm so sorry.
Do y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh my God, I don't know what. I was saying all kind of wonderful things.
Follow my tooth.
And she biased. I see you, girl. I touch and agree. Yes, it's gonna happen for me. Getting Issa on my podcast, it is gonna happen. I know it. I believe it. But thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all. This has been phenomenal, as I knew it would be. All right, Corey.
Podcasting is trending. Celebrities and everyday people every single day are starting podcasts. You may be even thinking about starting a podcast yourself, but the question still remains the same. How can you start, launch, brand, market, and grow your podcast? How can you connect with the right people in the media and the podcasting industry in order to elevate your visibility? And what type of mindset do you really need to have in order to be a successful podcaster? And the big question, how can you monetize your podcast? Well, hello, everybody. I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsey, host of The Tina Ramsey Show, podcast coach and podcast network owner. And the good thing is that I have you covered. You can ask all of these burning questions and so much more to our experienced media and podcasting professionals on our live Q&A at the Power of Podcasting event that I am personally inviting you to on May the 6th from 2 to 7 p.m. in Atlanta, Georgia at the Pop-Up and Create. I want you to experience for yourself a live taping of the Tina Ramsey Show, and your ticket, get this, includes our #1 podcast course, an autographed copy of the Power of Podcasting book, a swag bag with exclusive goodies, delicious food, and networking. So whether you are looking to just simply expand your knowledge, connect with like-minded individuals, or simply have a good time,
our event has something for everyone. So I don't want you to miss out on this once in a lifetime opportunity. So I want you to buy your ticket and secure your spot for our event, because it is the event of the year, because these tickets will sell out fast. So go to CTR Media Network.
Hey Think Fam, it's your favorite host, Michael Finkley, and you can listen to us on CTR Media Network. Go listen in.
Our CTR Media Network sponsors.
A special shout out to our corporate sponsor, Sheree Moore of SheTrucking.com. SheTrucking.com is committed to helping women and minorities establish and maintain successful careers in the transportation industry. So if you want to know how you can become the next trucker or join the transportation industry, contact SheTrucking.com and join their free Facebook community with over 30,000 women ready to help and support you on your journey. Check them out at SheTrucking.com.
Thank you to our CTR Media Network sponsors. To learn more about our sponsors and CTR Media Network, go to ctrmedianetwork.com. Our CTR Media Network sponsors.
A special shout out to our platinum sponsors, Eleanor and Leroy Mason from happyandhealthy.global. Happyandhealthy.global is a health and nutrition business that educates and provides essential natural wellness products to build your health and wealth. To find out more of what they have to offer to you, go to happyandhealthy.global.
Thank you to our CTR Media Network sponsors. To learn more about our sponsors and CTR Media Network, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.